Well, hello, my darlings. I'm Faith from Faith and Grits, back with make 4 of my Echoes of Edith make. So, my first journal using the sort of Edith Holden book pages. So, in today's video, I've had to go doing some sprayed and inked, like embossed tucks and pockets to go into the book. And I've had to play around with making some just very simple collaged journaling cards that I had inspiration from recently. I'll put the links down in the description below for that. So I do hope you'll stick around and enjoy. Please give me a like. It means a lot. And a comment if you can. So stick around, my darlings, and I'll be back with you in a tick. Well, hello, my darlings. I've decided to have a play, put the camera on. I've been really inspired today by a couple of videos. One from Jez over at Now Jezza Creates, and Joie. There's a recent one up by Joie over at Joie Defee. I'll try to remember to link those below. I've done me some embossed tucks to make some of those extra spaces that I need in the Edith Holden. So I've inked that one. The rest of them have been sprayed and they're off drying somewhere. So I'll come back to those. So as Joie Defee said in her video about just prepping tag bases. So I had some old old cardboard, not thin stuff, it is, but I've backed them all with tea stain paper and sort of cut them into some random tag shapes. So I've got those prepped. And I've gotten some book pages out. Now, Jez, in her video, was using images from this book. And I thought, well, I have that book somewhere. So I did have to root around to find it. But it turns out I've got 2 copies of it. Who knew? But the lovely size botanicals to use. And I've got a few other books that are similar to this. So I've pulled some pages out. So I've pulled some of these pages out. Some ferns, some flowers. Some were more on book page, some were on thicker book page. But all botanicals, and try to see where I want to go from there. So I might do that one first. That one I quite like to fit in with the sort of Edith style because it's got the berries showing on it. So I'll come back to that one. And this is one I've already sat and just played with, really. So it's backed with that writing paper, some very light stamping on it, and just use some scrapbook paper and just go for it. So let's pop this one away. So on that base, I kind of want to decide if I'm going to cover it, because that, of course, is smaller, but I think I want to tear around that one as well. And for that, I can use a tear ruler, but I think I'm just going to tear it by hand. So it's such a simple idea, and as Joie says in her video, you've just got to go for it. And you eventually do sort of find a rhythm into your own creative stream, I guess, or flow, or however you want to describe it. I think for all of us it's slightly different. So I'm going to give that one a little bit of a tear down. And then get some of these scrap papers out. The first thing I need to know is how much sort of real estate is that going to take up. I think I'll leave that edge straight. That needs to get inked. But before it gets inked, I want to get some paper into the background. And different types of paper as well. And just go for it. And perhaps do one on camera and then go away and play. I'm just intrigued by the way that Jez sort of talked through hers and the way that Joie Defee sort of chats through her process as well. Kind of want that 105 on there. That's not going to happen though. That can go lower down. That's not going to happen. But I want that purple covered up, if that makes sense. Could go there. Yes. But I don't want to glue it yet. I've got that bit. Will that show through? I don't want the word. Let's go with the word wagtail from the Edith Holden pages. Right up on top. And then I just need something thin to cover that and thin to cover that. And I have a box of random bits here. That's not quite big enough. And I'm not too bad for keeping scraps. I do keep some scraps, and then it does hit a point where I think, nope, it's got to go. And then I get rid of it all. Or I make something out of it. I'll try to make a masterboard or something, and then what's left over does go. So that can go in there, and I need something long and skinny over here. There we go. Piece of tea-dyed paper. It doesn't need to be that wide, so let's give this a tear. So, yes, I'm just intrigued by both those videos today to think, right, can I just go for it and see what happens? Because oftentimes I do find myself just sitting here overthinking and overthinking and overthinking, and you don't feel like you get anywhere or get anything done then. But that sort of creative process, and I find I'm worse with the camera being on because I'm overthinking everything and talking and trying to do at the same time. But never mind. So where did I have that one? I had that one there and that one there, didn't I? Yes. So I use these glue books. Pick up old magazines, free and cheap, and the magazines I use for gluing. I know some people use actual books as glue books or old paperbacks, which I could do, I suppose. But the magazines I find, if I'm not too heavy-handed with the glue stick, by the time I get to the end of the book, I can open it up a few more times and keep going in one book until the pages eventually glue together. And that works for me. That went all the way over, didn't it? Yes, it did. And one more there. And that one up there. Is that all right? Have I done that too low? I have done that too low. I need a bigger piece there. Lucky I checked that. Oh, what's that? Oh. Yeah. So, tear off those top and bottoms in case they overlap. And go ahead and leave them overlap, I think. So, trying to use up these purple glue sticks as well. Oh, that side? Yes. I've got a ton of these purple Elmer sticks that I found in the discount store. I forgot I had them. I got a drawer full, or not drawer, but a tray full of them over here. I'd gotten them, I don't know, something silly in one of the discount stores, like 35 or 40 pence a piece. But they're going really gummy on me, and I want to use them up. Because I've since switched to using Oohoo, which I do like. There we go. I am overlapping because I can go back and trim these off. And then the edges can get inked and things. So let's get this on. and ink that main image right up to the top. Actually, let's get rid of that. Yeah, there we go. Right on the top. Yes, I could trim all that off now. So let's get this inked and see what it looks like. So, has anybody else out there just tried this process of do you make pre-cut cards as bases like Joie explained in her video? Or do you just grab what you got and go from there? I'm starting to like the vintage photo now. It was bugging me in the beginning because it seemed like it wasn't quite dark enough. But it is growing on me now because I've always tended to ink in black. So it's taken a bit for me to just sort of think, okay, so that needs to get trimmed now. Let's trim this off. So what is everybody else out there working on at the moment? Have any of you done an Edith inspired book? And any suggestions for things that I should add to it, or suggestions on the cover? I'm actually toying with the idea of using the portrait of Edith herself that's on the back of the dust sheet as part of the cover. I don't know if it will work. The dust cover is quite shiny, but I am considering it. So here we go. There's one. I'm going to get that stuck to the top. Do I want to add anything? I think that one's... I don't think anything else needs to get added to that. So let's go back in with the glue book. And as, like Jez in her video, she went back and stamped, which I'm going to do a little bit of stamping. But then, like Joie in her video says, if you prep a bunch, you can always go back with paint, with ink, with stamps, with embellishments, as long as you get this sort of base base covered on both sides with something. Because, you know, at the end of the day, it's a junk journal. So, if I come to actually work in the book and I decide I don't want this floral on the front, I can just cover the tag with something else altogether. So, there we go. Nice and quick and easy. So, back with that. And sticky fingers. So, no, I quite like that. I want to round the corners. I want to give this one a little bit of, let's say, a 14 on the top. And maybe a 7mm on the bottom. There we go. And ink, really. And what I'm thinking is, depending on where they end up going in the book, I can go back and put lace or fabric pulls on the tops or the sides of them, depending on where they're going. So I'm not planning on sewing them at the moment. Some ink on the back. And I find ink in the vintage photo works well to sort of frame in the tea dye in, because it is such a similar color, so it looks more purposeful when that expanse has had a little bit of edging on it. So, happy days. That was quite quick and easy. Quite pleased with that. And it's got quite a substantial feel to it because it's been backed onto that that thin cardboard, come from a paper notebook. So, no, pleased with that one. Let's put a little bit of ink on there. I've just gotten one of these faux writing, and I was watching Jez do this, and I thought, ooh, I want to try that. So instead of stamping the whole stamp, instead of stamping the stamp onto the paper, she was just sort of lifting it up and giving it a random thing with her thumb. Yes, I like that. But I want to put a little bit on the back, I think. So very subtle on the back, but just enough to give it a little bit of interest. And of course, on that image, it's knocking that white back of the background a little bit. So now, happy with that. So, my darlings, I'm going to carry on now for a few minutes and work up a few more of these and then go check on those tucks and see how they are drying. So, I'll be back in a tick. Right, my darlings, so I've had a set made. That was that first one with that bright, bright pop of pink on it. That's the one we just done together. I've done that one as well, and I only put the Edith Holden on the background, and I just felt there was something missing. So that sort of second layer in there is from pattern paper, sewing pattern paper. So I've added that one in, and that one as well, sort of collaged around the edges. That one I'm quite pleased with. The yellow flowers and that hit of the Edith writing, and that one. So quite pleased with that. There were other pages I'd pulled out. This is a I don't know what to do with card, because I had these pelican books for wildflowers, but the paper is like so thin in these, it's like semi-transparent. Because if you look on, pardon me, if you look at that diagram there, sorry, my voice is going, you can actually see the text through the paper from the other side. And they're just so wafer thin. So I'm going to pop that away with this, because that's two pieces layered up together. Anybody use this sort of really super thin book page? And if so, how? How do you use it? So please let me know. I'll pop that away. So, these tucks, those were just brushed over the top with the vintage photo. They're not trimmed around the edges yet, because I don't know where they're going to live in the book yet. So these are the ones that I sprayed, and I'm really not sure, darlings. I was a bit like a kid in there, happy days, spraying away, and I didn't realize a couple of these sprays were the shimmer ones. So there's a teeny bit of iridescence in there, but I'm hoping inking will knock all that back. So sprayed with this, I don't have a great deal of sprays, but I'm going to reserve judgment until I have them inked. So let's do one on camera now. Which one? That one is quite, no, that one is quite iridescent in the background. So let's have a go. No, that one is as well. Oh, let's have a go with the rook. So I've ordered me a re-inker for this. It should be coming tomorrow. So let's see how we get on here. My voice is going croaky now. The weather hasn't helped. The weather has been so wet. Oh, I'm on the wrong side, am I? No, I'm on the right side. Honestly, I think we've had every season in one day today. It's been boiling warm in the sun at times, and then absolutely bucketing down with rain, and then cold. So, I don't know. But we are we've got the remnants of Hurricane Erin sort of blowing over the British Isles at the moment. Quite interesting having that vintage photo on top. And then perhaps just that color is going to be shining through on the bottom. I'm not sure about this rook, but I think he'll work. I'd like him a lot more if he didn't have a crown on his head, but we'll see. No, that's interesting. He would be a nice one to do in a Gothic journal. Pardon me. Hold on, I need a drink of water. Right, try that again. Not sure about some of these sprays, especially that shimmer spray. I'm a bit concerned right now. It's come off on the top of my ink pad. Never mind. Like I said, I've got a re-inker for this one coming tomorrow. I've never really had to go re-inking a pad, but for the cost of a new pad and the cost of the re-inker, I'm going to give it a good go. So this will be my first test pad. So, what do we think? With those splotches of color in the background. I think it would be more dramatic with black, but I want to avoid black for the Edith Holden one. At least for inking. I want to stick with the vintage photo for inking. So it needs to be trimmed down, or of course I could trim him out completely. So let's try one more. Let's try that one and see how that sort of floral design comes out with some color. Because that's a lot more ridges in this one. And hopefully this part of the video isn't for naught and I don't just throw them away. But no, I think I can make them work as tucks and not necessarily full pockets, but tucks. Now, my brain is telling me to go darker, but I don't want to go darker. And a lot of my VersaFine Claire browns I struggle with because I find many of them to be a little bit too red rather than brown. So, what do we think? So again, with that one, really the spray underneath is just shining through those crevices. I could go back and hit these a little bit darker, because I think this pad is giving it up now. Once they're trimmed, once the edges are trimmed down to size, I could go back and hit them a little bit more. So, thoughts? Right, I'm going to sit here and potter around and get the rest of these knocked back and rubbed down with some ink and figure out where I've put the Edith journal under the mess behind me. She's here somewhere. So, give me a tick. Right, my darlings, got these all trimmed down. I have topped up my vintage photo ink, so it has made a difference. So I've trimmed these down ready. I'm really loving the effect of these Spellbinder embossing folders. So I've done those ready. And again, I wasn't so sure about the colours, but seeing them against the book, I'm quite pleased with the colour range, even though they were like shockingly bright when they first got sprayed. But once they're inked, they're lovely. So I've trimmed one each of those down to make smaller tucks and pockets. Keep these two away. And that's the plan, is I just need to stick them in now. And hopefully going in some different directions. So like this one, for example, I'm going to put on the bottom of that Edith page, going this direction. So no, I re-inked that pad. The re-inking bottle came today. Pretty straightforward and quite pleased. It was definitely very dry and really easy to re-ink. I put about a dropper and a half full into the pad and used an old credit card to smush it down. So, pardon me, my voice is definitely going. I don't know if it's just seasonal changes or what. There we go. So that's going in there. Let art do its thing. This keeps getting caught on here. I don't know if it's just because the book is so wobbly at the moment because it's loose. Yeah, those two smaller ones I want to put them as if they've been chopped, though, if that makes sense. Yeah, that was the plan. If I can figure out what direction I cut it from. Not that one. Not that one. Oh, come on. Ought to be fine. Yes. I want... That's it, there. I want that one there and that one there to create two smaller pockets. Yes. And I can always add, but I don't want them perfectly lined up. I want them a little bit asymmetrical. So get these down. So it's coming together slowly. Put that one over here a little bit. Off to one side. And I might put that one actually go in that direction. What do you think? Yes. Put them a little bit off center. I don't like things being too symmetrical, especially in the junk journals, because in the finished journal, it really does cause much more interest. So let's have this one. Where's my center? There. There we go. And that last embossed one, I want to go towards the back. Yes. I don't know what I'm going to do about that bird yet. I want that one to go in there as sort of a full size, but right up to the edge. So I've only just slightly rounded that exposed corner. So that's only going down on two sides. And of course this needs something. So get this last one on. And no, I'm really pleased with these embossing folders, the Spellbinders ones. I've never used those before. And they're bigger. They're slightly bigger than your other sort of standard embossing folders as well. Let's get this one down. Lined up. There we go. Happy days. There is ever so slight shimmer on these from that spray, but it's not, you know, it's subtle. It's very, very subtle, especially after inking it back on the top. So, pin in the glue, Faith. Remember, trust me, if you've ever left the pin out of the bottle, you know what I mean. So, I need to do that 2 more times for the other 2 signatures, and then I'll pop back on, and we'll see what I've got that can go in them, in the tucks and pockets for now. So, back with you in a tick. Right, darlings, all glued in, so let's have a go. I'll get these 6 cards in here somewhere. I know I've made more than 6 tucks, but we'll see now. So that still needs filling. That's one we've done. The embossed tucks are, got 2 there. Of course, these aren't going to fit in there. That's going to need smaller embellishment. So I've done one that side, one that side. And there should be 3 in here. Where have I put it? Oh, there we are. So 1 card definitely to go in there. I want to go with blue, I think. Or that yellow. Blue, I think. So that one can live in there. That might need something bigger, actually. That might actually need a bigger tag, because it's a bigger tuck. We'll leave that one in there for a moment. I thought I did 3 in there. Yeah. Oh, there's the other one. So, perhaps something like that in there. So that's signature 1. Let's get another 2 into this one. I'm trying to distribute what I'm doing to keep it. I'll show you at the end now what I mean. So that needs, there, that's a nice fit with the berries. And the next embossed one in that one, I've done a small one there. So that's just a lower down cut. And one on that side. And the last one is one of those bigger ones. So I'll leave that bigger one and stick 1 in here. Should we go with pink or yellow? Or that purple. Leave that one in that one. Because I can always move these about later. So I just want to get a feel for the size of the signatures as you start to add things to it. So that's a smaller one for a tall skinny tag. That's one of the bigger ones. That is still a tag to go on that side. I'll leave that in there actually. And I think I cut these others up to be small ones as well. And can this last one go in here? Because that I've cut to be almost like a 2-inch tall skinny tag. Oh, that one can go in there. So, those are all the tags in. And as you can see, I'm starting to build some bulk here. And I like at this stage to sort of get the signatures in my hand and sort of work out where that bulk is. So you're not really going to have it on your spine side, which is there. And I've got a lot of room on the outer edge here. You can see by pinching it together. And you can see that a lot of that bulk is right in the middle of the signatures. So I know where I can start adding embellishments and things like that. So if I push down on the bottom middle, there's not a lot of give. But everywhere else, I've got a lot of give. So I know I could start adding embellishments. But I like to test my signatures, if that makes sense, as I'm going along. So I've still got plenty of room to grow here. So I'm going to leave this video here for now. So that's all from me. I hope I've made some sense. because I've had to film this in different little snippets. But thank you ever so much for watching, my darlings. If you like what you see, leave me a comment, give me a thumbs up, because it really means a lot. Subscribe if you're not subscribed already. And happy crafting, everyone. And hope to see you back here again soon. Bye for now.